The night the city turned against me began with rain. New York's kind of rain. The kind that makes even steel feel fragile. I remember standing there under the blinding lights of Vale Tower, notebook in hand, heart racing like it knew something my head didn't. I had one question left to ask, one I'd been dying to throw at him for months. Dominic Vale. The man they called the Empire in a suit. Billionaire, philanthropist, criminal. No one could prove it, but everyone whispered it. I came there to expose him, to watch his perfect composure crack under the truth. Instead, I became the story. He was standing at the podium, every movement controlled, every breath measured. When our eyes met, it felt like being caught in a storm that didn't know how to stop. He looked at me like he'd been waiting for me, like I'd already made a mistake just by showing up. I asked him the question that would destroy my career. I asked him how many lives his company had ruined. The room fell silent. He smiled, slow and lethal, and walked toward me through the sea of cameras and gasps. I remember the smell of his cologne, dark, expensive, like smoke on velvet. And then, without warning, he did it. He kissed me. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't tender. It was a command, a silencing, a collision of everything I hated and everything I didn't understand. His hand brushed my jaw like a threat. The world exploded around us. Flashes, shouting, chaos. But I couldn't hear any of it. When he pulled away, I could barely breathe. My palms were trembling, my lips burning. He looked at me like he'd just signed my death warrant and whispered something I'll never forget. "You talk too much." Then he walked away, just like that. By the time I found my voice again, the room had already chosen sides. Some stared at me with pity, others with disgust. My boss's face appeared on a nearby screen, red with fury, mouthing words I couldn't hear. And me? I stood there, drenched in light and shame, trying to convince myself I wasn't shaking because of him, but deep down, I knew it wasn't just anger. Something in me had changed the moment his lips touched mine. Something dangerous. Something that felt like the beginning of a story I never wanted to tell. Morning came too soon. The city outside my window was already awake, gossiping, buzzing, judging. Every screen I passed whispered the same headline: Billionaire Dominic Vale kisses journalist on live television. My name sat beneath his like a stain I couldn't wash off. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, but I kept watching the clip, again and again. The moment replayed in slow motion. His hand, the pull, the heat, the shock in my own eyes. I kept trying to find the second when I could have stopped him, the heartbeat where I could have stepped away. I never found it. My editor called before I could think. His voice was tight, clipped, the kind of tone that means a career is dying. He didn't ask if I was all right. He just said, "You're suspended until this blows over." Then silence. That was all it took to turn years of work into ash. I showered, dressed, and tried to breathe, but every reflection in the mirror looked like someone else, a woman branded by a man's touch. I told myself I'd face him, demand an apology, force the truth out of his smug mouth. That was before the news alert flashed across the screen. Dominic Vale confirms engagement to investigative reporter Elena Cross. For a full minute, I couldn't move. My own face stared back at me beside his. My pulse jumped so hard I felt it behind my eyes. Engagement. A lie so big it swallowed everything. By the time I reached Vale Industries, security had already seen the headlines. They didn't stop me. Maybe they were curious to watch me burn. The elevator ride felt endless, the kind of silence that hums with danger. He was waiting in his office, skyline behind him, suit perfect as ever. When he looked at me, the world tilted just a little. I demanded to know why. He didn't flinch. He only said it was for my protection. That word tasted like poison. Protection from what? From him? From the truth he carried in his eyes? He walked closer, slow and deliberate, the predator everyone claimed he was. The air between us thickened, and for one impossible moment, I forgot every reason to hate him. Then he spoke again, quiet, measured, certain. "You're safer as my fiancé than as my enemy." My laugh cracked in my throat. Safe. Nothing about him felt safe. But the look in his eyes wasn't arrogance this time. It was warning. Real, cold, haunted. I left before he could see the fear he'd planted. Outside, the city noise swallowed me whole. But I could still feel his voice chasing me, curling under my skin. By nightfall, strangers knew my name, my face, my supposed love story. And somewhere high above the city, Dominic Vale was watching it all unfold, calm as a god rewriting fate. By night, New York changes its voice. The rain stops pretending to be gentle. The streets start whispering names they shouldn't know. And fear becomes a language everyone understands. That night, it spoke to me. I was walking home from the subway, hood pulled up, trying to disappear into the city's noise. The engagement lie had gone viral. People pointed. Some smiled knowingly. Others muttered words that cut deeper than truth. I kept walking faster, pretending none of it mattered. But every step echoed like I was being followed. At first, I thought it was my imagination, paranoia born from humiliation. Then I saw it, a black car parked too long near my street, windows tinted, engine still running. When I turned the corner, it followed. Slowly, patiently. My phone rang. Unknown number. My throat tightened as I answered. Silence at first, then a voice. Rough, amused, chilling. You should have stayed quiet, Miss Cross. I froze. My pulse spiked. The voice didn't sound like Dominic's. This was someone else. Someone darker. Tell your fiancé the Russians haven't forgotten him, the man said. And now neither will you. The call ended. The car drove away, disappearing into the rain-soaked night like a ghost that didn't need to rush. I didn't sleep. I sat in my apartment until dawn, replaying the voice, the words, the threat. For the first time, I wondered if Dominic had been telling the truth. By morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I called his office. No answer. I went there myself. The guards didn't even question me this time. They just looked at me with that quiet pity reserved for people who don't know they're already in danger. When I finally saw him, he was standing by the window, phone pressed to his ear, his expression colder than I'd ever seen. He ended the call the moment I walked in. You were followed last night, he said. Not as a question, but as fact. My heart stuttered. You knew? His gaze sharpened, golden for just a second, so fast I thought I imagined it. They were testing boundaries. They won't again. What does that mean? It means you're moving in with me. I laughed, bitter and breathless. You think living with you will make me safe? He stepped closer, and something inside me flickered. A fear that didn't come from danger, but from wanting the man who was danger itself. He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was quiet enough to make the air tremble. It's not about what I think, Elena. It's about what they do when they realize you matter to me. The words left me cold. Matter. I didn't want to matter to him. Not like that. Not in a world where love looked like a weapon, but somewhere deep down, beneath the fear and the pride, I already knew the truth. The moment he kissed me, I'd become part of his world, whether I wanted to or not. I told myself I wouldn't go with him. I told myself I'd never let him control my life, no matter how many threats he whispered or how protective his eyes pretended to look. But fear has a way of rewriting conviction. When the second car explosion happened near my apartment, I stopped pretending I was safe. The police called it a mechanical issue. Dominic called it what it was, a message. He showed up that night. No warning, just his black car, his driver, and the quiet order in his voice that made argument feel pointless. Pack a bag, he said, and for reasons I still can't explain, I did. The drive out of Manhattan felt endless. The skyline vanished behind us, swallowed by the dark outskirts. His estate appeared like something from another time. Iron gates, stone walls, and a house too big for light to reach all its corners. Inside, it was warm, almost painfully so. Fireplaces burned in every room. Expensive art lined the halls. Everything smelled faintly of cedar and rain, like the forest somehow existed inside the walls. He walked ahead of me, silent, precise. Every motion of his body carried a quiet dominance that made my chest tighten. I hated that part of me noticed. He led me to a guest room, if you could call a suite with chandeliers and silk sheets a guest room. You'll stay here, he said. No one gets in without my permission. I turned to face him. You think you can keep me here like some prisoner? His eyes darkened, not with anger, but something heavier. You're alive because I'm not asking for permission. That should have scared me. It did. But underneath the fear was something worse. Curiosity. What kind of man lived like this? What kind of man could make death sound like protection? Later that night, I wandered the hallways, unable to sleep. The mansion was too quiet, the air too still. I could swear I heard whispers behind the walls, footsteps that stopped when I turned, the faint sound of a growl that couldn't belong to any machine. When I peeked out one of the tall windows, I saw him in the courtyard below, shirt undone, standing under the moonlight. His breath was ragged, his movements strange, almost feral. And for a split second, his eyes glowed gold again, just like before. I blinked. The glow was gone. Maybe it was the moon. Maybe it wasn't. But one thought wouldn't leave me as I pulled the curtains shut and pressed my back to the wall, heart racing. What if Dominic Vale wasn't the monster the world believed he was? What if he was something worse, something not entirely human? The nights inside that house had their own kind of silence, thick, alive, and listening. I started counting the hours by the creak of the old grandfather clock in the hallway, by the way the wind sighed against the windows. Sleep never stayed for long. Sometimes I heard footsteps outside my door, heavy and deliberate, pacing once, twice, then gone. Other times it was a low sound from somewhere in the walls, half growl, half breath. I told myself it was the pipes, that I was just imagining things. Lies make good lullabies when you're terrified. By the third night, I couldn't take it anymore. I left my room and followed the sound. The corridor was dim, lit only by candles that flickered whenever I passed. The air smelled of rain and smoke, like the forest had crept indoors again. The noise led me to a door at the far end of the east wing. It was slightly open, a faint light pulsing through the crack. I pushed it wider. Inside was a study, massive, lined with old books and something else, claw marks etched into the wooden desk, deep and jagged. The air was colder here, the kind of cold that feels like breath on your neck. Then I saw him. Dominic stood near the fireplace, shirt discarded, shoulders tense, chest rising and falling like he was fighting himself. His back was streaked with scars, fresh ones. For a moment I thought someone had attacked him. Then I realized the pattern wasn't random. It looked like a transformation halted midway. He turned when he heard me. For a heartbeat, I saw it again. The flicker of gold in his eyes. Bright, unnatural, beautiful. "Go back to your room," he said, voice low, rough, almost breaking. I couldn't move. "What are you?" The question escaped before I could stop it. He closed the distance between us in a single step, hand braced against the wall beside my head. The heat radiating off his skin felt wrong, too strong, too wild. "You don't want that answer," he whispered. But I did. Every instinct screamed at me to run, yet I stayed. I looked into those burning eyes and realized the truth wasn't hiding anymore. It was right in front of me, breathing hard, trembling with control. He leaned close, and for a moment, the faintest hint of a growl slipped through his words. "Some monsters wear suits, Elena. Others are born trying not to be one." Then he turned away, disappearing into the shadows before I could reply. I stood there, shaking, staring at the scars, the claw marks, the lingering scent of something that wasn't entirely human. The world had warned me about Dominic Vale, the criminal, the manipulator, the man who kissed to silence. But nobody warned me about this. I didn't sleep after that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the scars on Dominic's back, the golden flicker in his eyes. That quiet war he was losing against himself. By morning, the mansion looked almost normal again. Servants moved through the halls, pretending not to notice the tension that coiled through the air like a storm waiting to strike. Dominic didn't show up for breakfast. I told myself it was better that way. Distance, safety. But my heart wouldn't listen. It kept replaying his words. Some monsters wear suits, others are born trying not to be one. Around noon, I found him outside, standing near the edge of the forest that framed the estate. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, his hair disheveled, his expression carved from stone. He looked like a man built from control, and breaking piece by piece. "You shouldn't have followed me last night," he said, without turning around. I couldn't just pretend nothing happened, I answered quietly. "You were hurt." He let out a low, humorless laugh. "Hurt isn't the right word, Elena. Dangerous is." The word sent a chill through me. "Dangerous to who?" His gaze finally met mine. "To you." Silence stretched between us. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of rain and something darker. Something alive. I've been trying to keep my distance, he said, voice cracking slightly. But every time you walk into a room, every time you look at me like you're not afraid, it makes it worse. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. Then tell me the truth. What's happening to you? He stepped closer, eyes burning with that same gold beneath the gray. If I tell you, you'll never look at me the same way again. Let me decide that, I whispered. For a long moment, he just stared at me, searching, testing, fighting something I couldn't see. Then his voice dropped to a near growl. You think I'm a man with a temper, with secrets, but it's more than that. I was born with it. A curse that turns me into something that shouldn't exist. A beast that wakes when blood is spilled or anger takes over. That's why I can't... He stopped himself, closing his eyes as if the words themselves burned. That's why I can't touch you, Elena. But it was too late. His voice, his pain, it pulled me closer instead of pushing me away. I don't care what you are, I said, the truth trembling out of me. You saved me when you didn't have to. That's the only part I see. He shook his head. You don't understand. You're in the middle of something you can't walk away from. And if you stay, you'll be marked by me. His last words were barely a whisper. Then he turned and walked into the forest, leaving me standing there with the rain starting to fall. Cold, sharp, and heavy, like the truth itself. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't a story about danger finding me. I had already stepped into it. It rained for 2 days straight after Dominic vanished into the forest. The mansion felt emptier than ever, every echo louder, every shadow longer. It was like the house itself missed him but didn't want to admit it. I tried to convince myself that his warning was enough, that I should leave, pack whatever I had, and walk away from this madness before it swallowed me whole. But I couldn't. Something about him, about us, kept me rooted there, waiting for a man who wasn't entirely human. On the third night, I woke to the sound of thunder, and something else. My window was open, the curtains thrashing in the wind. When I stepped closer, I saw him standing in the rain. Dominic. He looked wild, drenched, his shirt torn open, his chest streaked with dirt and blood. But his eyes, they were glowing, molten gold, like the storm itself lived inside him. Before I could speak, he appeared in front of me. Too fast, too close. I stumbled back, breath caught in my throat. Elena, he whispered, his voice trembling between man and something more primal. I told you to stay away. I tried, I whispered back. You don't make it easy. His jaw clenched, his breath heavy. You don't understand. The more you're near me, the harder it is to control it. Then control it, I said, because I'm not leaving. For a moment, everything froze. The rain, the thunder, even his heartbeat beneath the soaked fabric of his shirt. Then something shifted. His hand moved to my arm, his fingers trembling as if every touch was a battle he was losing. Elena, if I lose control, if I mark you... He stopped, eyes darkening. It binds you to me. You'll feel what I feel. You'll see things meant for no human to see. It's a bond you can never undo. My heart pounded, half in fear, half in something I couldn't name. Then what happens if you don't? He looked at me like I'd asked him to stop breathing. Then I'll tear myself apart trying not to. Lightning flashed behind him, lighting the gold in his eyes. And in that second I knew. There was no turning back for either of us. He stepped closer, his breath warm against my skin, his voice a low whisper that carried both warning and promise. Don't ask me for this, Elena, because once I mark you... His lips brushed the edge of my jaw, his restraint shaking apart. You're mine. The words sent a shiver straight through me. Fear, desire, surrender, all tangled together. And before I could decide which feeling to obey, I felt it, a sudden heat on my skin where his lips touched, a pulse that wasn't mine alone. It burned softly, then faded, leaving a faint mark glowing beneath the surface of my skin. He stumbled back, breathing hard. It's done. What did you... You're part of this now, he said, his voice breaking. Part of me. And then, before I could reach for him, he was gone again, leaving me in the silence, trembling, with that mark burning like fire and fate on my neck. At first, I thought it was just a dream, the heat that spread under my skin, the pulse that wasn't mine, the whisper of his name echoing in the back of my mind. But dreams fade when the sun rises. This didn't. By morning I could feel him. Not just remember him and feel him, every heartbeat, every burst of anger, every flicker of guilt. It was like his soul had found a way inside me through that mark. I tried to ignore it, but the connection grew stronger. When I brushed my fingers over the faint symbol on my neck, warmth bloomed under my skin. A warning, a reminder. Then came the pain. It struck like lightning. Sudden, sharp, almost tearing me apart from the inside. I fell to my knees gasping, my vision spinning. Images flashed behind my eyes. The forest, blood, the glint of claws. Dominic's face twisted in agony. It wasn't just his pain I felt. It was his pain, Dominic, I whispered, gripping the floorboards. What's happening to you? I forced myself to stand, to follow the pull that guided me like a thread of heat through the house. The bond dragged me to his study, the same one where I'd seen him lose control before. The door was shut, but I could hear him inside, breathing hard, trying to fight something I couldn't see. I pushed the door open. He was on the floor, shirt torn, sweat glistening on his skin. His hands were bleeding where claws had tried to force their way out. His eyes were half human, half golden fire. Why did you come? He growled, his voice fractured between man and beast. You shouldn't see me like this. I felt you, I said, stepping closer despite the danger. Through the mark. I couldn't stay away. He looked up at me, anguish burning in his eyes. Then it's already begun. The bond, it ties us too deeply. My strength, my rage, everything I am, you'll feel it. Then we'll deal with it together, I said, even though my voice shook. He laughed, broken and bitter. You don't understand what that means, Elena. If I lose control, you'll suffer for it. Every time the beast takes over, it'll take you with it. I knelt beside him, my heart aching as I touched his trembling hand. Then we'll find a way to stop it, to control it. He looked at me for a long moment, the fire in his eyes dimming just slightly. You shouldn't care about a man who could destroy you. I don't, I whispered. I care about the man who's trying not to. Something softened in him then, a quiet surrender that scared me more than the claws or the curse. He reached up, his thumb brushing the mark on my neck. It's too late to go back now, he said softly. Our fates are tied. When I bleed, you'll feel it. When I break, you'll fall. And when I crave... He stopped himself, his voice catching. The silence that followed said the rest. That night, as I lay awake, I could still feel him. His heartbeat steady now, calmer, as if the storm had eased. But under it all was something darker, deeper. Desire, thrumming through the bond like a forbidden pulse. And I knew it then. This connection wasn't just magic. It was temptation in disguise. The bond became stronger with every passing hour. I'd be doing something simple, washing my hands, brushing my hair, and suddenly a pulse of heat would rush through me, fierce and consuming. It wasn't mine. It was his. At first I tried to block it out. I told myself it was just exhaustion, imagination, maybe even madness. But the more I resisted, the more it grew. Like the mark itself was alive, craving his presence. Sometimes I felt his emotions before he did. Rage, guilt, the constant battle for control, and something else, darker, warmer, impossible to ignore. Desire. It came to me in waves, the memory of his breath against my skin, the sound of his voice when it dropped to that low, dangerous whisper. And each time, I'd press my fingers to the mark on my neck, whispering, "Stop." But it never listened. That night, the storm returned, thunder echoing across the valley, rain slamming against the windows. I couldn't stay in bed. I wandered the halls, drawn toward the east wing like a tide I couldn't fight. When I reached his door, I didn't knock. I just opened it. He was there, sitting by the fire, shirt half undone, his eyes reflecting the flames. He didn't look surprised to see me. Maybe he had felt me coming the same way I felt him. "Elena," he said quietly, my name almost a warning. "You shouldn't be here." "I know," I whispered. "But the bond won't let me stay away." His jaw tightened. "It's not the bond keeping you here." He stood, closing the distance between us. The air between us trembled, thick with everything unsaid. Every time he looked at me, my pulse matched his. Every time he breathed, I did too. You feel it too, I said softly. He nodded once, like surrender. Every second. It's like you live under my skin. For a moment, neither of us moved. The fire crackled, thunder rolled, and the pull between us became unbearable. He reached out, his hand hovering just inches from my face. I shouldn't touch you. But you will, I breathed, and he did. Just his fingertips brushing my jaw was enough to send fire racing through my veins. The bond sparking like it recognized its source. His control slipped, just for a heartbeat, but it was enough. The heat that passed through that touch wasn't human. It was ancient, electric, wild. He stepped back suddenly, eyes burning gold. You see what I mean? His voice broke, half growl, half plea. If I keep this up, I won't stop. And when I lose control, I don't know if you'll survive it. I should have been terrified. Instead, I whispered, then teach me how to survive you. His breath caught. For a second, I thought he'd walk away. Instead, he whispered back, you already are. The mark on my neck pulsed once, hard. Then everything went quiet. Outside, the storm stopped. Inside, something far more dangerous had just begun. The storm may have ended outside, but inside me it never stopped. Every time Dominic looked at me, I felt that same pull. Invisible, magnetic, impossible. The bond hummed like a secret between our hearts, a rhythm we both tried to ignore and always failed to. He started avoiding me again. Days passed where I'd only hear his footsteps in distant halls or see his shadow crossing the courtyard at night. He was keeping his distance, but I could feel him, restless, angry, afraid. By the third night, the silence became unbearable. I went looking for him. I found him in the library, the same place I'd first seen him smile, though now that smile was long gone. Books lay scattered around him, pages torn, candlelight flickering across his face. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, and I could see the faint tremor in his hands. Dominic, I said softly. He didn't look up. You shouldn't be here. You've said that before, I whispered, stepping closer. But I'm still here. Finally, he looked at me. His eyes weren't gold this time. They were human, gray, tired. Then you deserve the truth. He stood, pacing once before he spoke again. The curse runs in my bloodline. My family, our name, was built on a lie. Centuries ago, one of my ancestors made a pact with something he didn't understand. He wanted power, but it came with a price. I held my breath as he continued. Every firstborn son inherits it. The ability to change, to hunt, to destroy, whether we want to or not. But that's not the worst part. He paused, his voice breaking slightly. The curse binds itself to emotion. The stronger the feeling, the harder it is to control. Anger fuels the beast. But love... He stopped, closing his eyes. Love is what kills us. My stomach dropped. Kills you? He nodded slowly. When someone like me falls in love, the beast inside doesn't understand the difference between protection and possession. It sees love as weakness, and the only way to protect what it loves is to destroy it. I shook my head, stepping closer. You think you're dangerous to me, but you're not. He gave a bitter laugh. You don't understand, Elena. Every time I touch you, every time you look at me like that, it gets stronger. The curse feeds on it. That mark on your neck, it wasn't supposed to happen. It's already claiming you. The room felt colder, smaller. My heartbeat was too loud in my ears. Then let it, I whispered, surprising even myself. He looked at me, pain flashing in his eyes. You don't know what you're saying. I do, I said. You think love will destroy us. Maybe it will, but I'd rather burn with you than live half alive without you. For a long, quiet moment, he just stared at me. Then he whispered, You sound just like her. I froze. Like who? His gaze dropped to the floor. The last woman who said those words, before I lost her to the curse. The firelight flickered across his face, and I saw something new in his eyes. Not just fear. Guilt. A wound that had never healed. And in that moment, I understood. Dominic wasn't just fighting to save me from the beast. He was fighting to save himself from loving me at all. Couldn't stop thinking about what he said. You sound just like her. The words replayed over and over, haunting me louder than any thunder. The next morning, I found myself wandering through the West Wing, an older part of the mansion that everyone avoided. The corridors smelled of dust and time, the walls lined with portraits whose eyes followed you as you walked. At the end of the hall hung a single painting, different from the rest. The woman in it looked almost like me. Dark hair, pale skin, eyes too sad to belong to the living. The nameplate beneath read, Isolde Vale. I whispered the name under my breath. And the air changed. Behind me, the floor creaked. I turned. Dominic stood there silent, his expression unreadable. You found her, he said quietly. I swallowed. Isolde, she was the one before me? His jaw tightened, and for a long moment he didn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, cracked with memory. She wasn't supposed to die. He stepped closer, his gaze locked on the portrait. She was my first mark. I didn't know what it meant back then. I thought the bond was a gift, not a curse. But the first full moon after we were bound, he stopped, eyes closing as though reliving every heartbeat of that night. I lost control. The beast inside me, it saw her fear, and it took that as a threat. When I came back to myself, his breath caught. There was blood everywhere, hers. My throat ached. Dominic? He shook his head. I've spent years trying to make it right. I built this house over the ruins of the old Vale estate, surrounded myself with reminders so I'd never forget what love can do. And now me, I whispered. He looked at me then, really looked, as if weighing whether fate was punishing him again. You should hate me. I can't, I said softly, because somewhere in that pain you're still trying to protect her. To protect me? He turned away, fists clenched. If the curse follows the same pattern, the bond will grow until it chooses. One lives, one dies. A chill ran through me. Then we'll find a way to break it. His bitter laugh filled the empty hall. You think no one has tried? Every Vale before me sought a cure. Magic, bloodlines, sacrifice, none of it worked. Then maybe it hasn't worked because none of them had something worth fighting for. He stared at me, silence heavy between us. For a heartbeat, the gold flickered again in his eyes, but it wasn't rage this time. It was sorrow mixed with the faintest trace of hope. Don't give me hope, Elena, he said quietly. Hope makes me human, and that's when the beast strikes. He walked away, leaving me alone with the portrait and the echo of his words. But as I looked back at Isolde's painted face, I swore I saw her lips curve, just slightly, almost imperceptibly, into something like a warning, or a blessing, and deep inside the mark on my neck burned once more, as if the ghost herself had touched it. Sleep became a stranger after that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, Isolde Vale, standing in the dark hallways of my dreams, her eyes full of sorrow, her lips parting as if to speak. But no sound ever came. At first, I thought it was guilt, or fear, maybe both. But soon, the dreams turned real. It began with whispers, soft at first, like the house was breathing. Then clearer, closer. Elena. The first time I heard it, I was in the library. The voice brushed against my ear like a breeze, cold enough to steal my breath. I turned, expecting to see Dominic, but the room was empty. The fire flickered, and I caught a glimpse of movement in the reflection of the glass. A woman's silhouette, long hair, white dress. When I spun around, she was gone. Only the scent of roses lingered in the air. By the third night, I wasn't afraid anymore. I was desperate to understand. The bond between Dominic and me had grown stronger. I could feel his heartbeat even when he wasn't near, his anger, his exhaustion, his loneliness. But lately, something else bled through it, a sadness that wasn't his. It felt older. Feminine. Morning. And every time it came, the mark on my neck ached. That night, I followed the whisper down the same West Wing corridor, back to Isolde's portrait. The candles along the wall burned lower as I approached, shadows stretching long and trembling. Why are you showing yourself to me? I whispered. The air turned cold, and the flame nearest me went out. For a moment, the silence was absolute. And then, I heard her voice again, faint but unmistakable. Because he still belongs to me. My heart stopped. What? The eyes in the portrait glimmered in the candlelight, like something behind them was alive. He marked you, the voice said. But the curse is older than him, older than love itself. You think you can save him? You'll only take my place. The wind picked up, slamming the windows open. The candles died one by one. I stumbled back, trembling, my heartbeat racing to match the thunder outside. Then, in the flicker of lightning, I saw her. Isolde, standing at the end of the hall, her white dress soaked in something darker. Her eyes locked on mine, cold, endless, and aching with grief. When I blinked, she was gone. Only the portrait remained. I barely noticed Dominic behind me until his hand gripped my arm, pulling me back. Elena, what are you doing here? I turned to him, shaking. She was here. Isolde. I heard her. She spoke to me. His face went pale. What did she say? That I'll take her place. For a moment he said nothing. Then he whispered, "Then the curse has already started its choice." His voice was hollow, almost broken. But in his eyes, behind the fear, I saw something else. The same thing that haunted me. The curse wasn't just hunting us. It was watching, waiting, deciding which of us it would keep. I used to think love was just a feeling. A heartbeat, a spark, something fragile and beautiful. Now, I know its power, wild, unpredictable, and dangerous enough to tear the world apart. After the night I saw Isolde, the air in the mansion changed. It wasn't just haunted anymore, it was alive. Mirrors flickered with shapes that weren't ours. Doors opened on their own. Sometimes I'd hear Dominic's voice when he wasn't there, whispering my name in the dark. But the scariest part wasn't the ghosts. It was the bond. It had grown too strong to ignore. When he was angry, the air around me trembled. When he was in pain, I'd wake up gasping, bruises appearing where none had been before. And when he desired me, the mark burned so hot I thought it might sear my skin. I tried to resist it, to stay away. But every night the pull grew stronger. By the fourth night, I couldn't take it anymore. I went to him. He was in his room, pacing near the window, the moonlight cutting silver lines across his face. He looked at me like he'd been expecting me. "Elena," he said softly, voice frayed, "you shouldn't come here." "Then stop calling me," I whispered. "Because I hear you, Dominic. Even when you're miles away, I feel you." His jaw clenched. "That's the bond talking." "Maybe," I said, stepping closer. "But it feels real." He looked torn, like part of him wanted to push me away, and the other part had already surrendered. "You don't understand what's happening, the bond between us. It's not just magic anymore. It's awakening." "What does that mean?" He hesitated, eyes flickering gold. "When two souls are bound like this, their emotions begin to manifest. The curse feeds on it. If we're angry, storms rise. If we're afraid, the shadows stir. And if we—" He stopped. "If we what?" I whispered. His breath caught. "If we give in to what's between us, it won't stop at emotion. It'll take everything. You, me, it'll burn through the bond until one of us is gone." I felt tears rise, but I didn't move away. "Then teach me how to survive it, how to live with it." He shook his head. "You can't live with it, Elena. You either break it or surrender to it." Silence stretched between us. The air shimmered, a strange electric pulse moving through the room. The fire in the hearth flared high without warning, like it had felt what we were feeling. I took a step closer, my voice barely a whisper. "And what if I don't want to break it?" He looked at me then, really looked, and something inside him gave way. His hand trembled as he reached for my face, fingers brushing my jaw like a man touching a dream he'd tried to forget. The moment his skin met mine, the world shifted. The walls trembled, the air sparked, and a blinding warmth surged through us both. I could see fragments, his memories, his pain, his desire, all pouring into me through the mark. It was too much, too real, too beautiful. When he finally pulled back, his eyes were pure gold. "You see now?" he whispered. "This isn't love anymore. It's fate rewriting itself." And even though I was shaking, breathless, half lost between worlds, I whispered back, "Then let it," because the truth was simple. If fate wanted to rewrite itself, it had chosen the wrong girl to stop it. Something inside Dominic changed after that night. Something inside me did too. The bond had awakened. And now, every heartbeat between us felt like a storm barely contained. He started avoiding me, not coldly, but like he was protecting me from something inside himself. He'd walk into a room, see me, and his eyes would flicker gold before he turned away, jaw tight, hands trembling. But no amount of distance could hide what I felt, pulsing through that bond, his hunger, his rage, his unbearable need. It wasn't human anymore. It was primal, ancient. I tried to act normal. I told myself the nightmares, the whispers, the strange energy around the mansion were all part of the curse. But the truth was darker. Every time he fought his feelings for me, the beast inside him stirred, and it wasn't staying buried anymore. One evening I found him outside near the cliffs behind the estate. The sea roared below, the moon rising red and low on the horizon. His shirt was torn, his back slick with sweat. "Dominic," I whispered. "Go back inside. Elena." His voice was rough, deeper than usual. "Not until you tell me what's happening to you." He turned toward me, and my breath caught. His eyes weren't gold anymore. They were glowing like molten fire. "You shouldn't see me like this." "Why? Because I'll see the monster?" I took a step closer. "I already have." He let out a broken laugh, half human, half growl. "You have no idea what I'm fighting, Elena. When I feel this..." His hand slammed against his chest. "The wolf doesn't understand boundaries. It thinks you're mine," my heart pounded. "And I'm not," he froze. "Don't say that. Why not?" I said, stepping closer again, voice trembling. "You said it yourself, the bond is real." "The curse is real, so stop pretending I don't belong here. I'm not afraid of what you are." Lightning flashed behind us. The wind howled. He tried to turn away, but I caught his arm, and that was his breaking point. His body shook. His breath came out ragged, his skin rippling as if something beneath it wanted out. His hands gripped the ground, claws starting to form where fingers had been. "Run," he growled. "Elena, please." "I can't. I'm not leaving you." His head snapped up, and for a heartbeat, I saw both man and beast inside him, torn, desperate, and furious at himself for wanting me. Then he roared, not like a man in pain, but like a creature that had been caged too long. The trees bent under the force of it. The air crackled with power. His transformation stopped halfway, muscles tight, veins burning gold, as if the curse itself was confused whether to consume him or spare him. I stepped closer, tears stinging my eyes. "Dominic, fight it. Look at me." His eyes locked on mine, trembling. "You don't understand." If I give in, I cupped his face. "Then give in to me, not the beast. Me." And for a moment, just one, he did. He leaned forward, forehead against mine, breathing me in like I was the only thing tethering him to reality. Then everything went still. The storm, the sea, even the air, frozen. And in that silence I realized something terrifying. The bond wasn't reacting to his rage anymore. It was feeding on our love. I always thought love would save him. I never imagined it would unleash him. That night, the sky broke open. The moon, once soft and silver, turned crimson, fractured through a haze of black clouds. The mansion trembled, the air thick with the scent of rain and iron. Dominic was gone before I could stop him. One moment, he was on his knees, fighting the change. The next, the beast inside him ripped free. I saw it happen, piece by piece. The stretch of muscle, the gleam of fur, the flash of gold in his eyes that no longer recognized me, and then he was gone, vanishing into the forest beyond the cliffs, leaving behind the echo of a roar that didn't sound like pain anymore. It sounded like freedom. I ran after him. I didn't think. I just moved. Branches tore at my arms. Roots caught my feet. But I kept going, following the trail of chaos he left behind. Trees ripped apart. Earth split. The curse had been waiting for this, waiting for him to break. Somewhere deep in the woods, I found him, or what was left of him. The creature stood in the clearing, massive and trembling, fur slick with rain, eyes glowing gold. He wasn't a nightmare. He was heartbreak made flesh. And when those eyes found me, the air went still. For a heartbeat, I thought he would attack, but he didn't. He stopped. His breathing changed. Slower, ragged, conflicted. He remembered me. "Dominic," I whispered, stepping closer, the rain plastering my hair to my face. "It's me." He growled low, deep, shaking the trees, but he didn't move. I took another step. The bond inside me throbbed, warm and alive. I could feel him, the man buried inside that monstrous shell torn between instinct and memory. "Fight it," I whispered. "You're stronger than the curse." His claws dug into the mud. His body convulsed like he was tearing himself apart just to listen. And then, I did the only thing that made sense. I reached for him. The moment my fingers touched his chest, the world exploded. The air burned gold. The ground split open, light shooting through the cracks. I felt the curse recoil, felt something ancient screaming as the bond between us flared to life, raw and wild. Through the pain, I heard his voice. Not out loud, but inside my head. "Why didn't you run, Elena?" "Because I'm yours," I whispered, tears mixing with rain. "Even if it kills me." The beast shuddered. And for the first time, it looked afraid. And then, slowly, his form began to change back. The fur receded. The claws dissolved into flesh. The gold in his eyes dimmed to human warmth. When it was over, Dominic collapsed against me, shaking. "I told you," he rasped. "The curse. It wants you now." I held him tighter, even as the mark on my neck burned hotter than ever. "I know," I whispered. "Let it come." Because somewhere deep inside, I finally understood. The curse didn't just want to destroy him. It wanted to claim us both, to fuse us, heart and soul, until love and ruin were the same thing. And under the shattered moon, I realized I might just let it. By dawn, the storm had stopped. But inside me, the real storm had just begun. Dominic slept, his body still trembling against mine. The forest was silent around us, heavy and watching, like even nature knew something sacred, or forbidden, had taken place. I should have been afraid. I wasn't. I traced the scars across his chest, the places where the beast had fought its way out. His skin was fever-warm, his heartbeat uneven. Two rhythms, fighting each other. The man and the monster. When he finally stirred, his voice was raw. "You shouldn't be here, Elena." I smiled faintly. "You keep saying that, and I keep not listening." He opened his eyes, that haunting gold fading back into gray. "You think this is brave, what you're doing?" "No," I whispered. "It's love. And that's scarier than bravery." He looked at me for a long time. So long it hurt. Then, with a soft, pained exhale, he took my hand and pressed it against his chest. "Feel that?" he said. "That heartbeat isn't mine anymore. It's yours." The bond surged. A rush of warmth, then cold, like fire and frost colliding inside me. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The world tilted, blurred, and I saw flashes again, blood on marble. Isolde crying, Dominic kneeling before her. A blade, a vow. "If I cannot love you in this life, I'll find you in the next." I gasped, tearing my hand away. "I saw her again, Isolde." He froze. "What did you see?" "Your past," I whispered. "Your curse. It started with her, didn't it?" He looked away. Pain etched into every line of his face. "She was my first bondmate. The curse began when I broke that bond. I loved her. But I didn't love her the way fate demanded. And now, it's repeating." My throat tightened. "Repeating with me." He nodded slowly. "You're the reincarnation of what I destroyed. The curse found you because it always does. It pulls the same two souls together, life after life, until one of them chooses right." The mark on my neck pulsed hard. A searing sting, blood. Just a drop, trickling down from where it burned. "Elena," Dominic's voice broke, the bond sealing itself. The light burst between us, red and gold, spinning threads that wove through skin, blood, and soul. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, and then silence. When it was over, the mark had changed. No longer a bruise, but a symbol, the shape of a crescent moon split by flame. Dominic's breath hitched. "It's done." "The blood bond." I swallowed hard. "What does it mean?" His eyes darkened. "It means there's no undoing it. You're bound to me, body, soul, and fate. My life, my death. Everything that happens to me happens to you." I looked at him, trembling. "Then if you die," he nodded slowly, "you die too." The truth hung between us, heavy, suffocating, final. And yet, as he pulled me into his arms, the mark burned not with pain, but with belonging. We were one now, bound by blood, by love, and by the curse that had never stopped hunting us. And somewhere deep in the woods, unseen, something ancient stirred. Watching, smiling, waiting for the final act. They say every curse has a voice. I finally heard mine. After the blood bond sealed, the world didn't feel the same. The mansion seemed to breathe, the shadows whispering in languages older than time. I could feel something ancient pressing against my mind, calling my name when I tried to sleep. At first, it was just whispers. Then it became words, and one night, she came. The mirror in my room fogged over, even though there was no heat. My reflection blurred, replaced by a face I knew too well. Pale, regal, eyes black as the void. Isolde Vale. No, not her. Something inside her. Elena, she said softly, her voice echoing from somewhere beneath the world. You carry what was once mine. I stepped closer, unable to look away. Who are you, really? She smiled, slow, terrible. The first bond, the mother of all magic. The Shadow Queen. The glass rippled as if alive. The air turned cold enough to hurt. You and the wolf, she whispered. You think your love is rare? It's nothing new. Every pair that dares to bind through blood feeds me. Every soul that breaks for another keeps me alive. My heart stuttered. You mean, the curse is me, she said simply. I was betrayed by love once, so I made love a prison. Every life, every bond, every kiss that claims to defy me returns to my hands. Her eyes burned. And now you've sealed yours perfectly. I shook my head. No, we'll end you. Her laughter cracked like glass. You can't kill what you carry. My essence runs through you now. Break the bond, and Dominic dies. Keep it, and you'll become me. The words hit like a blade. Me become her? I stumbled back, whispering, You're lying. But the mark on my neck flared, black veins spidering out beneath the skin. My reflection flickered. For a second, her face over mine. I screamed and struck the mirror. It shattered, the sound splitting the night. Then Dominic burst in, eyes wild, half transformed. Elena, she's here, I gasped. She's inside me. He caught me before I fell. His hands shook. Tell me what she said. That to end the curse? One of us must die. He went still. Then, slowly, he whispered, It was always going to end like this. No, I said fiercely, grabbing his face. We'll find another way. There is no other way. His voice cracked. If she takes you, the world burns. If I die, the curse sleeps again. You'll live. Tears blurred my vision. You think I can live without you? He smiled. That broken, beautiful smile that made my heart ache. You already are my life. Outside, thunder rolled. Not from the storm, but from her. The Shadow Queen was coming, and deep inside, the mark burned like a warning. The final act had begun. The night the curse came for us, the moon vanished. Not behind clouds. It simply ceased to exist. Darkness swallowed the sky, the forest, even the sea beyond the cliffs. Only the mark on my neck still glowed, burning gold and black. Pulsing in rhythm with Dominic's heart, we stood in the courtyard, surrounded by shadows that weren't our own. The air felt alive, humming with the voice of something eternal. The Shadow Queen had come to claim what was hers. A wind rose from nowhere, and she appeared, not as flesh, but as darkness wearing a crown of bone and flame. Her voice split the air. Choose, Elena Vale, the wolf's blood or your own. One dies, the curse ends. Dominic stepped in front of me. Take me. Don't you dare, I hissed, clutching his arm. We'll face her together. He turned to me then. Eyes bright gold, the man and the beast perfectly merged. You already saved me once. Don't undo it now, Dominic. He pressed his forehead to mine. When I first met you, I thought fate was cruel, but now I know it's the only reason I got to love you at all. I felt the bond pulling tight, threads of light between us straining like they'd snap. The Shadow Queen raised her hand, and the earth cracked open beneath us, rivers of golden fire snaking toward our feet. My heart pounded. There has to be another way. There is, Dominic whispered, but it's not mine to take. I didn't understand until I saw his hand, slick with blood, pressed over the mark on his chest. He was breaking the bond from his side. Stop! I screamed, grabbing him. The pain hit instantly, white-hot lightning through every vein. Our bond screamed, alive, fighting to stay whole. He smiled through the agony. You live, you remember. That's enough. And then I understood. He wasn't dying for me. He was freeing me. No, I cried, pressing my hand over his. If you go, I go. The Shadow Queen's laughter rose. So it ends again. Love devouring love. Something inside me snapped. The bond didn't break. It reversed. I pulled, harder than I ever had before. Every drop of his pain, his strength, his soul. I pulled it into me. The mark exploded in light. The world vanished. When I opened my eyes, the Shadow Queen was screaming. The light had turned against her, threads of the bond wrapping around her like chains. She reached for me, but her hand turned to ash. Her crown cracked. Her voice faded. And then she was gone. The curse shattered with her. I fell to my knees, gasping, the night suddenly too still. Dominic lay in my arms, pale, still, his heartbeat fading beneath my hands. "Dominic," I whispered, shaking him. "Don't you dare." He opened his eyes one last time, gray, human, beautiful. "You did it, Elena. You broke her." Tears blurred my vision. "We broke her, together." He smiled faintly. "Then let this be our last curse, to always find each other again." And then he was gone. The wind stilled. The dawn rose over the horizon, soft, pink, and painfully alive. I sat there, his body in my arms, the bond between us quiet. But not gone. Somewhere deep inside, I still felt him. A heartbeat. Faint. Waiting. And when I looked up at the sunrise, I smiled through my tears. Because I knew, wherever souls wander, he'd find me again. Just as he always had. A year, 365 days since the night the moon vanished and my world burned. People say time heals. They lie. Time doesn't heal. It hides. I still wake up some nights hearing him breathe beside me, reaching for him in the dark before remembering he's gone. But the bond? It never really broke. It just went quiet, like an ember waiting for air. I came back to the mansion today, or what's left of it. The gates were overgrown, the gardens wild. The stone walls had cracked, ivy swallowing the balcony where he once kissed me under the rain. The locals call it cursed. They don't come near it, but I've never felt safer anywhere else. I walked through the ruins, every step echoing with memories. The library, the West Hall, the shattered mirror where I saw her. The ghosts were gone now. Only silence remained. I stopped in the courtyard where it ended, the place where Dominic died. The earth had healed over. Soft grass growing where blood once fell. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of rain and cedar. His scent. I closed my eyes. If you can hear me, I kept my promise. I lived, for a moment nothing, only the sound of the waves below. Then, a heartbeat. Soft, slow, not mine. I turned. At the edge of the courtyard, where the shadow met the dawn, a wolf stood watching me. Massive. Silver-gray fur catching the first light. Eyes gold, familiar, impossible. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. "Dominic," I whispered. The wolf tilted his head, just slightly, the way he used to when I teased him. Then he turned and walked into the forest, disappearing between the trees. I could have sworn I heard a voice, deep, warm, and distant, carried on the wind. "Told you I'd find you again." I smiled through my tears. Because love, real love, it never dies. It transforms. It returns. It waits. And as the sun rose over the cliffs, I whispered back, "I'll be waiting." My wolf. They said no one could survive the blood bond, but love, I've learned, doesn't obey rules made by gods or curses. It finds a way. 1 year after the eclipse, I left the ruins behind. I built a small life in a coastal town, quiet, distant, anonymous. Days passed. Seasons shifted. And yet, every morning, I woke to that same heartbeat, faint, echoing through my soul. Then one stormy night, he came back. Not as a wolf, not as a ghost, but as a man. He walked into the old bookstore where I worked. Tall, rain-soaked gray eyes, and that same uneven scar across his jaw. He didn't remember me, but the moment our eyes met, the air changed. The bond stirred. The mark on my neck burned like a sunrise beneath my skin. He smiled, polite, curious. "Sorry," he said, voice deep and achingly familiar. "Do I know you?" I almost broke, almost told him everything. About the curse, the blood, the love that destroyed worlds. But I didn't. Instead, I smiled softly and handed him his change. "Not yet," I said. He left, the bell above the door ringing once. For weeks he came back. Little excuses. Books he didn't need. Questions about poetry, about fate. Every time he lingered a little longer. Every time his gaze stayed on me a little too long. And one evening, as the sun bled into the sea, he said something that made my heart stop. "I had a dream," he said. "A woman by the cliffs. Her eyes, they looked like yours." I met his gaze, that soft storm of confusion and longing. "What happened in the dream?" I whispered. He smiled faintly. "I told her I'd find her again." Tears filled my eyes. "And did you?" His hand brushed mine. "I think I just did." The wind outside shifted, carrying the faint sound of wolves howling far in the distance. Low, peaceful, eternal. The bond pulsed once, not burning, not breaking. Just alive. The curse was gone, but fate was still watching. I leaned close, whispered against his lips, "Welcome home, my wolf." And when he kissed me, gently, reverently, like the first dawn after endless night, I knew the story wasn't about breaking curses. It was about love refusing to die. Again, and again, and again. If this story touched your heart, don't let it end here. Subscribe now to BRD Stories Hub and be part of our growing world of love, pain, and destiny. Your support means everything. It helps us create more stories that stay with you long after the screen fades to black. And if you love this story, write part 2 in the comments below, because every word you share keeps this story alive. Thank you for listening. This is BRD Stories Hub, where love never dies.